Okay, give it a few seconds. Okay, Mrs. Berkowitz, we are live.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the board meeting of Wednesday, April 28th. We will start, as we always do, please, with the pledge first. Dr. Lando, you'll do our backdrop. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
of the
of the
United States
of America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're going to be going back and forth a lot in this first part. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cartolano.
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. Good evening, Dr. Prendergast, Mrs. Berkowitz, Mrs. Perez, Mr. Shi, Mrs. Sassouni, Central Office Administrators, parents, students, families, and friends. On behalf of South Middle School, I thank you for honoring South Middle School's exemplary students. I would like to begin by offering our condolences to the Ashkenaz family for their loss. Mr. Ashkenaz was an incredible force in public education in Great Neck for nearly 40 years. He was always a friend to South Middle School, and I can remember him being present at many of our events, including our cultural heritage event, which I believe was one of his personal favorites. We know his legacy will continue to live on in our Great Neck schools for many years to come, and we are grateful for his dedicated service. We are so fortunate to have such a hardworking, caring Board of Education that honors those students who contribute to the quality of life at South Middle School. Our Board of Education constantly models this exact type of exemplary behavior as they go above and beyond in their efforts to make our district one of the most premier districts in the country. Please join me now in welcoming our dedicated Board of Education President, Mrs. Barbara Berkowitz, who would like to speak to you, our outstanding award recipients.
Thank you, Dr. Cartolano. So in preparation for tonight, I spoke with you, as you well remember, and I also looked through some prior speeches that I've written to see how things may have changed with awarding these certificates. They've been going on now over 40 years. So I found they really hadn't changed much. Dr. Cartolano told me that some of you were recommended by staff and some of you self-nominated, and a committee of administrators, deans, and guidance counselors reviewed every nominee. Some of you were members of a variety of clubs or participated in sports teams. Some worked on the school newspaper or magazine. Others were involved with cultural heritage or HTV. You were involved with student government or No Place for Hate, just to name a few things that you were involved with. But what you all have in common, that you contributed to the quality of life at South Middle. Your teachers and administrators recognize all that you've done for your school, and that's why 83 of you, 8th graders, are receiving these awards this evening. Tonight, we have the opportunity to realize how much our children benefit from the many diverse programs that are offered here in Great Neck. And we get to reflect on how fortunate we are that we can continue to provide all of these academic and extracurricular opportunities for our students, despite pressures on us all. We know of many districts who have chosen to eliminate some of their enrichment electives or sports or theater productions or increase class size. We are so grateful that we live in a community that continues to support public education, and we never take that for granted. So how many of you have heard or made any of the following comments? The waiter is so slow. My teacher gives too much homework. My children's rooms are so sloppy. It's not my fault, he started it. Or my brother is so mean. Unfortunately, people often find it easier to complain than commend others for the jobs well done, or just help to make things better. And that's what this evening is all about. We have the opportunity tonight to pause and tell all 83 students being recognized this evening, this was a job well done. And despite everything thrown your way in a pandemic that has consumed almost half your time in middle school, you've been resilient and still managed to demonstrate your strength and make South Middle a better place with you in it. To your parents, we say thank you. And to the awardees, we say congratulations once again. And now, Dr. Carolano, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Berkowitz. I am truly impressed with the hard work and outstanding contributions of our award recipients this evening. All of you have done something worthy of recognition. You have gone the extra mile and distinguished yourselves in the eyes of your teachers and administrators. Even in the face of a global crisis, your dedication to our school has continued. You are resilient young adults, and you have managed to persevere despite the many obstacles that have come your way since last March. I admire your resilient nature. The Board of Education certificates of commendation are awarded each year to those students who have given service to our school and have been all around good citizens. You have all made our school a better place because of the activities that you have been involved in. You have brought honor to our school and have used your gifts to help others. You have demonstrated commitment and perseverance, and I am quite proud of your accomplishments. Whether it was working each morning in our HTV studio, or being a peer leader or adolescent advocate, or representing your classmates in student government, or writing for our newspaper or literary magazine, or competing with the math team or one of our many science teams, or representing our school in multiple sports teams, or playing a role in our school musicals or our cultural heritage celebrations, or serving our school through our No Place for Hate and community action committees. You have all given of yourselves and have enriched the lives of those around you through your dedication, commitment, and passion to the amazing opportunities here at South Middle. Our community and the world at large needs committed young adults like you to be active and make a difference. I am reminded of the words of Maya Angelou, who said, "When you do nothing, you feel overwhelmed and powerless. But when you get involved, you feel the sense of hope and accomplishment that comes from knowing you are working to make things better." I know that you have made our school shine brighter because of your commitment. I congratulate you and know that this is only the beginning of your many successful endeavors. And let's not forget to thank your parents who inspired you to take chances and get involved. You have certainly made them proud. I'm fortunate to work each day with two very dedicated and hardworking assistant principals. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Natterney and Mr. DiBiase, who will be announcing the names of our students who are being honored tonight. Thank you. Mr. Natterney.
Good evening. Congratulations to the 2021 Quality of Life Award recipients. Rose Angelaris, Christina Bai, Kushi Batata, Angela Cow, Charisse Chan, Calvin Chang, Jolene Chang, Adora Cho, Akira Cho, Hugh Choi, Elizabeth Chow, Zoe Elenis, David Fang, Samuel Fisk, Christopher Fukuda, Edmund Gann, Neha George, Anant Gupta, Michelle Harris, Erica Herrera, Preston Hom, Adreen Hussein, Colin Hu, Wesley Joa, Daniel Katzman, Maytal Kipoor, Dylan Kim, James Klein, Gina Kwok, Jaden Lamb, Alexander Lau, William Law, Gloria Lee, Janice Lee, Max Lee, Ryan Leung, Caden Lee, Victor Lin, Riki Liu, Paige Louis, Angelina Mendez, Gracie Meng,
Ariz Merchant, Ryan Mohason, Ava Moran, Cyrus Musavi, Michaela Navarro, Anthony Puma, Yilin Kiao, Jesse Rogendorf, John Rogendorf III, Brenda Roman, Simona Rubinchik, Emily Sang, Kushagra Saxena, Leah Shader, Casey Schwartz, Aiden C.O., Cheyenne Siddiqui, Annabelle Sion, Lauren Sayang Sin, Simone Sluka, Talia Soto, Isabella Spagnoli, Sarah Sun, Abigail Sverdlik, Snea Varghese, Aiden Wallach, Kian Wei, Evelyn Wan, Alyssa Wang, Erin Wang, Carrie Wang, Braden Wu, Ivan Zhu, Richard Zhu, Gavin Yi, Erin Yoon, Edison Wan, Mishkat Zara, Yuan Zhang, Laura Zhang, and Zaikan Zhang. Congratulations to all our award recipients and to their families.
Thank you, all of you. So we'd love to have you remain for the rest of the board meeting, but we understand if you sign off now. Congratulations once again. Normally, I would say there's so much noise, let's wait a few minutes, but it's not so much noise this way. So I'll get right into the agenda. The first item here, which is item 2, is the approval of minutes. Items 2A through F. Are there any additions or corrections? There being none, they are accepted as presented. Next item, 3A, the presentation for the annual budget hearing for the 2021-22 school year. I'd like to first turn this over to Dr. Prendergast. You're on mute.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It is with great pride that we spend a few minutes this evening to speak about our budget, the annual budget hearing that will take place this evening. I'd like to introduce Mr. John Powell, our Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, who will join me with the review of the budget presentation tonight. So Mr. Powell, I'll let you begin, and then I'll join in through a portion of the presentation as we continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prendergast. Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. Good evening, viewing audience, and welcome to our Zoomcast number 5 presentation on the 21-22 budget. If you are new to these presentations, we have tried at each meeting to highlight the material budget increases and the rationale behind the figures that make up our proposed 21-22 budget. Tonight, we will follow the same format we have followed for all previous presentations, with the exception of the Saturday, March 20th, 2021 session, which was a line-by-line analysis of the budget codes making up this budget. We will start by showing you some slides from previous budget hearings, and then get into a little more detail on our number one revenue source, real property taxes. Slide 1, of course, is our cover page. Slide 2 is our mission statement that guides our decision-making and determines our budget.
Feel free to use me and Ryan if you need to.
Slide 3 is the budget calendar, with the last entry being the date of the budget vote, which is May 11th, 2021, or 13 days from now. Slide 4 is the summary of our proposed budget. The budget is increasing 4.47% over our 2021 spending plan, and our tax levy is increasing 1.98%. As explained at our last budget hearing, this is a 27 basis point reduction from our initial levy to levy increase of 2.25%. Slide 5 is a new slide illustrating some important budget facts over the last 5 years, using actual figures from the years 2016-17 to 2021. Our average budget to budget increase over that period in time was 2.19%. Our average tax levy to tax levy increase was 1.70%. The average Long Island tax levy increase for school districts was 1.76%, and the 5-year average increase in the consumer price index was 1.76%. As you can see, our figures favorably compare to those numbers. Slide 6 is a repeat of a previously presented slide, giving a 15-year history of important figures that factor significantly in the development of the budgets in each of the years listed. Slides 7 and 8 are new to our budget presentation this year. Real property taxes are our largest single revenue source that, together with payment in lieu of taxes, which is a property tax based loosely on assessed value and an agreement as opposed to entirely on assessed value, account for 88.71% of our revenues. What is worth noting is this percentage is below the previous 5-year average of 91.95%, or a difference of 3.24%. This means we are relying less on property taxes to fund the 21-22 budget. To put this another way, if we were to continue the same percentage of property taxes to fund the budget at 91.95%, we would require another $8,171,108 in real property taxes to fund the 21-22 budget. This figure is the result of multiplying that 3.24% decrease times the proposed budget amount of $252,194,682. This lower reliance on property taxes for the budget year 21-22 is possible by increasing the appropriation of fund balance and reserves to $11,536,982 and applying the increase in state aid of $454,085. Again, property taxes are our number one revenue source and probably the one item that draws more people's attention than any other when discussing school budgets. It is certainly a topic worth delving into a little more other than just illustrating the amount levied compared to the amount allowed under the real property tax cap. I would like to thank my fellow business official in the Jericho School District, Mr. Victor Manuel, for giving me the idea and the framework for this section of tonight's presentation. Thank you, Victor. There are three major components of how taxes get levied against your property. I certainly do not mean to diminish the complexity of how property is assessed and taxes are levied. However, for tonight's presentation, I'm going to summarize the process into 3 components to aid in the illustration. In Nassau County, there are 4 classes of real property for assessment purposes. The only other taxing jurisdiction that uses the 4 classes of real property in New York State is New York City. However, on slides 8 and 9, you will only see classes 1 and 2 because the Board of Education in the 2004-2005 year had the foresight to combine classes 2, 3, and 4 into class 2 to mitigate the effects of rising taxes on class 2. Based on the way the tax levy was assigned to each class of real property, class 2 was getting burdened with a higher amount of the levy, which translated into those taxpayers paying more taxes. The 4 classes of property are class 1, which are single-family homes, 3 stories or less; class 2 apartment buildings, condominiums, and cooperative apartments; class 3 utilities such as Long Island Power Authority, National Grid, PSE&G, and the telecommunications companies; class 4, which is commercial, retail, and all other property not included in the first 3 classes. To aid in this illustration, I am only going to concentrate on slide 7, because 8 is just a continuation of the information for later years. However, when you do look at slide 8, do not try and compare 2 sections of slide 8 to the previous years. Do not try and compare the assessed value by class and the tax rate by class for class 1 only to the previous 6 years. The reason for this is because it will not be possible. Nassau County, as most, if not all of you know, changed the level of assessment for class 1 properties from 0.25% to 0.1% of full or market value in their reassessment project for the 2021 year, making an apples to apples comparison not possible. The only way to make that comparison would be to convert the assessed value to full value, which for this presentation is not necessary. You will hopefully be able to follow what I'm trying to convey by just looking at the years prior to 2021. The first section of this slide is the assessed value by class of real property. This is the result of taking the market or full value of all property and assessing it at a percentage of its full value. This is done by the Department of Assessment. As you can see in class 1, this number can fluctuate, increasing or decreasing each year. For years presented on this slide, you see decreases for the years 2015, 16, and 17 in both classes of real property. The next section in this slide, tax levy by class, illustrates the amount of our tax levy that is charged or levied against each class of real property. The totals line in this section is our tax levy in each of those years. I need to point out something in this section. In some documents I have presented, the levy total for 2016 will be shown as 195,756,682, while in others it would be 199,496,645, which it is in this document. However, it should be presented as the 195,756,683, which is $3,739,963 less. And this was the result of LIPA assessments being removed from the assessment roll that year and being reclassified as a payment in lieu of tax receipt. Don't want anybody to worry. We did receive the money, but it was just not in the form of a tax payment. However, for purposes of this presentation, it is only important for you to know that the total line is our tax levy. The reclassification would only affect the percentage difference for that year. So that's the only reason I brought it to your attention, but I just want you to concentrate on that totals line by the tax levy by class. The next section I want to bring to your attention is the one right after the tax rate by class section, or the last section on this page, which is the section entitled Adjusted Base Proportions. These percentages for each class come from Nassau County and tell us how much of our tax levy gets assigned or levied against each class of property. What is important to note is you see the percentage for class 1 rising each year and a decreasing percentage in class 2. This is a shifting of tax liability from class 2 into class 1. What I am trying to illustrate is that even if the school district did not raise taxes $1, your tax liability would go up, keeping all other factors in the equation equal because of this shift in value. Again, what I am trying to show is there is more tax value in class 1 than in class 2, and each year, some of that value gets transferred into class 1. That is why when we publicize a percentage increase in taxes, it never equals exactly what your percentage increase in taxes is. This is a major factor why it does not. If the Great Neck School District did not raise taxes, most, if not all, taxpayers would see an increase in their taxes. There are other factors such as exemptions and other exempt property that also play a part in this, but this shifting in value from class to class is significant and should be known. That is why slides 7 and 8 were put into this presentation. The tax rate by class section was the one we skipped over. All that is just a comparison on the increases and decreases in tax rate by class for each of the years presented. Again, increases in tax liability are not just the result of an increase in the tax levy. Slide 9, we're going to skip over slide 8 because it's just a continuation of slide 7. Slide 9 is a repeat of a slide from our last presentation and illustrates the different state aid categories we receive money from and the increases over the apportionments we received in this year's 2021 budget. Slides 10, 11, and 12 are the sources of federal aid we are receiving tied to the COVID-19 pandemic. Slide 10 is a repeat of a slide from a previous presentation, while segments of slides 11 and 12 contain material we have already presented, but with some additional guidance on how this funding is to be used. The American Rescue Plan is, as indicated, a future source of revenue in the amount of $4,016,261. We are required to adhere to the rules listed on slide 11 and to prioritize the spending on items listed on page 12. We are required to establish a plan on how we are to spend this money and post that plan on our website by July 1st, 2021. The rules surrounding the spending of these funds have not totally been distributed to the recipients. As more information is received, the rules and regulations will be communicated to you, the residents of our school district. Slide 13 is a repeat of a slide we have included in a previous presentation, but certainly worth showing again, where we list a number of our accomplishments, which we are extremely proud of. At this point, I would turn this part of the presentation to our superintendent of schools, Dr. Teresa Prendergast, to walk you through slides 14 to 18.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. So I'm sure no one would be surprised to acknowledge the fact that the Great Neck Public Schools really is a choice community, and our school system provides many opportunities for our students. Our goal is to make sure that we provide a quality education for all students, regardless of need, and that we focus on our academics, music and the arts, extracurricular activities, intramurals, and interscholastic athletics. No surprise, our district enjoys a national and international reputation for academic excellence. We offer an excellent educational experience that allows our students to discover their own talents, their abilities and strengths in order to one day lead and make a difference in the world. This slide here that we're focusing on really is highlighting information that was just released today, as a matter of fact, which is information pertaining to the U.S. News and World Report. 20 Long Island public high schools are among the nation's 1,000 best, according to the U.S. News and World annual list. This year's best high schools, the edition ranked, just to give you a little background, 18,000 public schools. And I think it's very important for people to realize when they look at 18,000 public schools, that list includes specialized high schools, magnet schools, as well as charter schools. And it looks at all of our states within the country, and they're looking at various variables, including the graduation rates for students. US News and World also looks at STEM qualifications, and they evaluate advanced placement and test participation and success in mathematics and science exams. 3 Long Island high schools, Great Neck South, Manhasset, and Great Neck North, all 3 high schools ranked in the top 200 of the best STEM schools in America. And just to give you a little background information, the methodology that the US News and World Report uses focuses on 6 different factors. It looks at college readiness, it looks at reading and math proficiency, it looks at reading and math performance rates under various state exams, it looks at our underserved student performance, it looks at college curriculum breadth, it looks at graduation rates. And it also looks at specific variables, and school districts like ours, we use advanced placement exams. Other school districts use the International Baccalaureate. And just to give you a sense, there are 15 Nassau County schools that made the list this year, including 9 which made the top 500. So we're in very good company. And I also do want to recognize Jericho, Manhasset, Great Neck South, Garden City, Herricks, Roslyn, Syosset, North Shore, and Great Neck North High Schools. Next slide, please. But we do have to look at things beyond the academic realm as well. So I think it's important to also notice that we have an awful lot of pride with regards to the arts. The NAM Foundation highlights school districts with outstanding music programs. And this year we earned again a national honor. And it's so exciting to note that this is the 15th time since the program's inception that we have been recognized as a school district of excellence. And not to mention also, we have various music programs. It would be impossible for me to acknowledge every accolade, although people can look forward to hearing about more information in our budget newsletter. But only recently, both North and South high school teams won the national competitions with Lincoln Center. I think I highlighted that at our last board meeting. And we also have students that are chosen to participate in the All-State Music Conference, which is again, a very rigorous process. Next slide, please. So again, additional information, and I'm not going into too much detail, but these are so many more opportunities where our students are recognized beyond the classroom with regards to the different experiences that they are engaged in. So for example, we have 490 students in our school district that were honored by College Board as advanced placement scholars. We have national merit competition winners, and those are very rigorous competitions. So for us to have 28 finalists is indeed an exception. It's something we're very proud of. But we also have a large number of students that are involved in extracurricular experiences. So many of our students are involved in DECA, one of our extracurricular programs. And to have our students competing at state and national competitions, again, is something very much that we can be proud of. Next slide, please. So speaking of advanced placement scores, I thought it was important to acknowledge, and I did touch upon this at our last meeting. Our high school students sit for more than 2,500 different AP exams each year. This chart is just giving you some indication as to the number of exams that are administered compared to comparative school districts, many that I mentioned earlier, who also made the best high schools list. But it also notes the percentage of those exams where students scored a level 3 or above. And for many of our students, colleges will recognize any AP score with a 3 or above is potentially earning college credit that can be transferred into a high school upon graduation. Next slide, please. Thank you. But there's also more than that, because while we offer a plethora of college placement AP courses for our students, we do recognize that we are looking to meet the needs of all learners. And I'm so very proud of the fact that we have an affiliation with so many local universities that support our programs. Last year, we had over 400 students that were enrolled in college credit-bearing courses. I left you a list of those courses here on the slide, which gives you a sense that for many of our students, while they may not want to take a complete complement of AP courses in any given year, they do have an opportunity to balance out their schedules, which our guidance counselors encourage them to do. So that gives them experiences to take courses in the arts as well as in the sciences, and as well as to delve into some extracurricular or elective course offerings so that they can get a better sense as to the areas of study that they're interested in. Next slide, please. Thank you, Mr. Powell. I just wanted to turn this back to you, but again, that is only a very small snippet of some of the things that I would identify as our points of pride. Every month I have the opportunity to highlight just a few things in my superintendent's report, and you can look forward to receiving the budget newsletter, which will delve into much more detail into some of the experiences and the awards that our students and our schools are chosen for beyond the academic arena. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prendergast. We will go right into slide 19, which is a repeat of a slide from our last presentation where we illustrated the revisions we have made to the budget from the date of Friday, February 26, 2021, when we issued the preliminary working budget booklet, to the presentation we made on April 13, 2021, when the budget was adopted. Slide 20 illustrates the adjustments we made to 16 codes in the appropriations budget. Our adjustments were just a redistribution of $208,000 among 16 codes. This was done to reflect information that was obtained from the time the budget booklet was issued to the date we adopted the budget on April 13th. Slide 21, just like in the previous slide, is the result of additional information received that impacted the revenue side of the budget. That important information was the adoption of the New York State budget in late March, early April, that resulted in the need to adjust the revenue side of the budget by $574,716. These adjustments had no effect on the total amount of the budget, which remained at $252,194,682. It was just reallocating the money between revenue lines to reflect the additional state aid received of the $454,085 and the appropriation of an additional $120,631 in reserves that enabled the reduction of the tax levy increase from the first published figure of 2.25% to the 1.98% that was adopted. Slide 22 is also a repeat of a previously presented slide illustrating how the tax levy amount is determined, which is taking the total budget and deducting all available revenues to determine how much needs to be raised by taxes. This schedule also brings further attention to the $11,536,982 in fund balance in reserves needed along with other revenues to fund this budget. Slide 23 are our budget highlights. Slide 24 are our staff or personnel additions. Slide 25 illustrates the approximate amount of money that is spent in our operating budget used to provide services to our non-public school students attending private schools located both in and out of the geographic boundaries of the Great Neck Public School District. As you can see, this is a material amount of money. Slide 26 lists the capital projects and building improvements we are planning for the 2021-22 school year. This consists of work in just about every one of our schools, such as kitchen and bathroom upgrades, locker and shower room renovations, and road and parking lot improvements. Slide 27 is a synopsis of what happens if the budget gets defeated and we are unable to get a positive vote on the revote date in June. We do not like to spend too much time on this topic because we, of course, are hoping for a favorable outcome on May 11th, but it must be mentioned and it must be mentioned what will occur should a contingent budget become necessary. There are strict rules concerning a contingency budget, but it is always what the Board of Education, working within those guidelines, who determines what will go into that budget. The main rule of thumb is the property tax levy in a contingency budget can be no higher than the levy from the last year of an approved budget, which for us is the year we are in, and the reduction in the levy we are proposing would be $4,214,577 less. However, the reduction in the appropriation side of the contingency budget would be higher because $7,678,364 of the money that is in the proposed 21-22 budget cannot be included in a contingency budget per the rules and regulations. Items such as capital improvements, unless they are necessary for the health and safety of students and staff, and equipment purchases cannot be undertaken or purchased respectively. When we do our last budget presentation prior to the budget vote date, we like to include a question and answer section on topics we think the public may have questions on or need further clarification. This is what appears on slides 28 through 31. There are 10 questions with answers ranging from the top on the topics of fund balance and reserves, contingency plans in the event of changes in budget assumptions, state aid, budget formulation, cost-saving methods, and collaborations with other public school districts that save taxpayer dollars. Slide 32 is a reminder of the date of the annual election and budget vote. Slide 33 contains election law and rules for voter registration. Slide 34 lists the poll locations. Slide 35 lists the 4 voting zones. Slide 36 is a tool to assist voters on where to vote and to find out if the resident is registered to vote. And slide 37 is just another announcement on the date of the vote, the time the polls are open, and a link and phone number for additional information or assistance if needed. This concludes my presentation this evening, and I will now answer any questions on the 21-22 budget which is being presented to the taxpayers for vote on May 11, 2021.
Mrs. Berkowitz, I do not see any questions at this time.
Okay. I guess everybody understood the presentation totally, Mr. Pell.
Thank you.
So if there are no questions, then I'm going to move on to the next item. Item 3B, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. Good evening, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, we are very proud of the fact that North High School and South High School are both featured in the U.S. News and World Report's 2021 ranking of best high schools. And as I mentioned, that list represents the top public high schools in the country, which includes not only our traditional public high schools, but also charter schools, specialized schools, and magnet schools. It really is an honor that our schools continue to be recognized amongst the best high schools in this state and in the entire country. This recognition reflects the accomplishments of our students, the quality of our programs, the work of our dedicated teachers and administrators, and the support of our entire school community in providing outstanding educational opportunities for all of our students. So congratulations to everyone involved. I am excited to announce that we are now in the process of exploring options to bring more secondary students back to school for daily in-person instruction before the end of the current school year. These discussions rely on the current guidance from the New York State Department of Health regarding social distancing in schools and other measures, but it also takes into consideration the recent downturn in the number of positive COVID cases in the district. And it is very important that we focus on the fact that the numbers of positive cases within the Great Neck Public School community has shown a downward turn in terms of the number of positive cases. And I am cautiously optimistic that that is a pattern that will continue, because if it does maintain the low numbers that it does, it gives us an awful lot more flexibility in terms of returning more students safely to in-person instruction. So I do want to acknowledge that point and to commend our community, our parents, our staff, and our students in terms of following all safety protocols and measures so that we can make sure that we continue to have a safe environment for everyone that comes into our schools. So toward that end, an email was sent to all of our middle and high school parents this afternoon. We're requesting your input to help us inform our plans, with the understanding, of course, that if the positivity rates continue to decline, we may be in a situation where students can return to school, even though we may not necessarily be maintaining 6 feet of social distancing if additional children are in the classroom. I do want to make note that for now, the fully remote instructional model will remain in effect as an option through the end of this school year, June 25th. We did ask parents as part of that survey to please fill out that form for each one of their children that are enrolled in our middle or high schools. And we would love to have that information back no later than Monday, May 3rd at 3 p.m. Once we have the information from you, our parents, we will have an opportunity to then collate that data and to make some informed decisions about returning children to in-person instruction. And further information about that process will be shared with the Great Neck Public School community once we have an opportunity to review those data points. I also want to take this moment this opportunity to acknowledge the Great Neck North High School. North High School will be honored by the New York State Office of Mental Health as a recipient of the Systems of Care Community Award in the 2021 What's Great in Our State program. This honor celebrates the positive impact of North High's counseling team in supporting the mental health of their students and families. The Systems of Care Community Award is given annually to recognize a coordinated network of partners and collaboration in terms of supporting an achieved vision and goals. So I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and to give thanks to our school psychologists, our social workers, guidance counselors, the entire support team that works together at North High School in the counseling department to make sure that our children are supported academic, socially, and emotionally in terms of meeting their needs. I also want to take note of the fact that South High School, the Science Olympiad team, came in first place at the New York State Science Olympiad tournament, and they earned their first state championship title this year. That team is now going to advance to the national championships later on next month in May. And just to give you a perspective, a total of 68 teams from across New York State participated in the state tournament. It was conducted virtually, and the competition featured 15 different types of challenges that required knowledge and skills in various areas, including anatomy, physiology, astronomy, biology, chemistry, oceanography, and more. And finally, I do want to take this opportunity that will be noted in the personnel section of our agenda this evening. I am delighted to be able to recommend to the board Michelle Bell as the next principal of the Parkville School Center. The selection committee, which was comprised of teachers, administrators, and parents, and chaired by Kelly Newman, is to be commended for their work in identifying an outstanding candidate who will be devoted to supporting our students and in their first introduction to our public school system. I am confident that with Ms. Bell at the helm, our Parkville School faculty and students will continue to thrive under her leadership. Congratulations, Michelle. And that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prendergast. I just want to make note also of the fact that the search for a new assistant principal at Kennedy will be beginning very soon. So, next item on the agenda is a resolution for an MOA. Dr. Prendergast, would you just explain what the MOA is about, this one? Between the schools and the Great Neck Maintenance Association.
Thank you. Let me just get to that page. We are working in concert in working with the Great Neck Maintenance Association, that they are going to be joining with another bargaining unit. And this is part of the protocol in terms of completing that process.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Are there any nays?
So moved.
No nays. Items 2D and E, which have to do with Suffolk BOCES and Nassau BOCES. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Are there any nays? Item 3F, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
So moved.
Are there any nays? Item 3G, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Are there any nays? Items 3H through J, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
So moved.
Items K, are there any nays? No nays
No.
for that. Items 3K and L, do I have a motion to accept the donations?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. I'm not even going to ask if there are any nays. Thank you very much for those donations. Items 4A and B, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
So moved.
Are there any nays?
Mrs. Berkowitz, there's a 3M.
3M. I don't have a 3M.
Appointment of election workers, Barbara.
Okay, different sheet. I don't have it on either one of my agendas. Do I have a motion to accept?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Are there any nays? Items 4A and B, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Are there any nays? Item 4C, which is a rejection of a bid, do I have a motion to accept rejecting the bid?
So moved.
Are
So
there any nays? Items 4D and E, do I have a motion to accept?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Are there any nays? Item 4F, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Are there any nays?
No.
Item 4H, 1 through 4 are reports that we will accept as presented. Items 5A and through D, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? And 6, 1 and 2, the personnel section. First, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Are there any nays? On behalf of the board, I also extend our congratulations with Ms. Bell. We met with her yesterday and she will be a delightful addition to Parkville as well, although we will be missing Kathy Murray tremendously. Okay, there were no questions submitted in advance. Are there any questions here tonight?
I do not see any questions.
Okay. Then I will move next to board discussion. Does anybody have anything they wish to say or to add?
No.
I'm looking from left to right and up and down. No. Okay, I just want to point out before we adjourn that Tuesday, May 11th will be the budget vote. We have down at 10:45, there will be an announcement over Zoom. If we have results by then, if not, it'll go later. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.